What you did and didn't know about Loctite. Well, Loctite is one of those products that most of us have used, right? And most likely when we first started working on cars, we were taking things apart and putting them back together. And in that process, someone simply said, hey, don't forget to put Loctite on it. So we did. We simply put Loctite on it. There was no real instruction. And because we didn't want to stop working, and we also didn't want it to come apart or work loose, we just smeared some on the bolt before we installed it. Loctite is one of those products that we have used without understanding what it is, how and when to properly use it, and how and when not to use it. With that being said, let me ask you this. Is Loctite a glue? Well, no, not really. Okay, then what is it? It is a thread locker. Well, again, we know that. It says it right on the package. So what is a thread locker? Well, a thread locker is an adhesive for nuts, bolts, and screws to lock them in place and avoid loosening caused by stress and vibration. But not this kind of adhesive. It is an anaerobic adhesive. So what does anaerobic really mean? Well, aerobic means occurring only in the presence of oxygen. So anaerobic means occurring only in the absence of oxygen. Because it will only cure in the absence of oxygen or air and when in the presence of metallic ions, so it is a chemical reaction. By contrast, these will cure in the presence of oxygen and air, and in the presence of whatever it is touching, or for that matter, whatever it is not touching. So, you are working and you need to install some bolts and use Loctite. Well, how do you do that in the absence of air? Well, bolts have external male threads, and nuts, blocks, plates, brackets, etc., they all have internal female threads. Once threaded together, the air is removed as the matching threads join up as the bolt and nut come together. For example, the red Loctite on this bolt takes up the space as they are threaded together. Now remember this, it will only cure in the absence of air and when in the presence of metallic ions. Well, once threaded together, we now have both metallic ions and the absence of air. So it will cure. But how long does that take? Well, it is fast acting, but approximately 24 hours is typically needed for it to fully cure. Do we have to wait? No, the curing will begin immediately, so simply continue your work. Just don't introduce heat by starting the car until it is fully cured. So which do you use, blue or red? Well, don't make this mistake. Don't go by the color of the container. You must actually read the label. Now look close at these containers. The left container is colored blue, but it is really the red product. It says permanent high strength thread locker. And the right container is colored red, but it is really the blue product. It says medium removable strength thread locker. Seems confusing? Well, why is that? Well, the color of the container is determined by the manufacturer brand, not the product inside. Permatex brand containers are all blue, and a few are white, regardless of the color of the product inside. And Loctite brand containers are all red, regardless of the product inside. The manufacturers like to maintain their brand identity. This is Permatex's product chart. Notice that all the containers are blue, and this is Loctite's product chart. All the containers are red. So you must read the label. Each product has a suggested user's guide from low strength to high strength, and the color of each different product is a different color. The proper use of Loctite is to clean the parts, shake it well, especially if it's been sitting around in the shop for a while, apply it to the male threads, let it set for 10 minutes before disturbing, and then let it cure for 24 hours before starting the engine. Heat can affect the curing process. Apply a small amount on the male threads at the position that a nut will rest once it is screwed into place over the Loctite. Of course, there are different applications to use Loctite. Bolts and nuts that have through-hole applications, bolts and nuts that have blind holes. If it's a blind hole, you put the Loctite into the hole. Post-assembly applications, and for overhead applications, the Loctite stick is best used because liquid can run off. And in some situations, the pre-applied tape is best. So what happens if we use too much thread locker? Well, thread lockers are designed to fill the small gaps in threads. Too much may cause the adhesive to spread well beyond the required surfaces. So now you know. Thread lockers are needed. Just don't smear some on because someone said to. Understand the differences and how they are applied so your work will be done correctly.